Okay, we will start with the feedback. Remember that we have in the quizzes, we have the evaluation of Unit 20, that is present real conditionals, that are these two first exercises. I will show you, for example. In this one, remember that you had to drag the words in order to form a correct sentence in present real conditional. Always you have to respect that if you start with the if, you have to use a comma, right? So if you see the comma here, the meaning was that you needed to start with the if, right? In this example, here in the number 2, you don't have a comma. So that means that you have to start with the result. That was the first clue for you, okay? So remember in this one, for example, if I travel to a foreign country, I buy a lot of souvenirs. That was the only possibility because when you travel is when you buy souvenirs. So this is the result. Remember that the comma, it's a very good clue in this type of exercises because they will include the comma, right? In this one, you needed to start with the result. So you have for, she visits, whenever, brings gifts. Okay, obviously you bring gifts as a result of a visit, right? So Anna brings gifts for her family whenever she visits Brazil. Also, whenever was used instead of if. Remember, if you forgot that, please write it in your notebook. Whenever or when can be used instead of if in present real conditionals. And in this one, you have the comma here. Okay, it means that you have to start with the condition. If you think those shoes are too expensive, you should ask for a discount. Obviously, you are recommending. That's why the should is here in the result because your recommendation is to ask for a discount. Don't forget that in the if, it's not common to use the model, right? The model it's used in the result. Don't forget that. And for you to identify this type of conditional, that is the first conditional, don't forget the purpose of it. Truth, facts, something that always happen, like a routine, right? Something that is true, always true, or a recommendation, invitation, right? A command, an order. So don't forget the clues in order to create correct sentences. Okay, and here is the second part of the same exercise, all right? Here you don't have the comma. It means that you start with the result. Daniel doesn't like to shop at a mall if it's too crowded. Obviously, guys, crowded, a lot of people, it's too crowded. So then you don't like to shop, right? So Daniel doesn't like to shop. In this one, again, the comma, so you start with the condition. If the store doesn't have the couch you want, order it online. Okay, when you order online, it's because that store doesn't have the item, right? Now, in this case of a question, remember that I told you the part of the question will be in the result. Where you will do the question in the result part. So the result will be our beginning or the beginning of the sentence. What happens? That is my result because that is what you need to know, right? If I pay with a credit card instead of cash. So my result is what happens, right? So my questions will be formed or structured starting with the result part. Okay, this was the second exercise of the present real conditionals. And I want to emphasize two exercises only, or three things here. I want to focus on three things here. First of all, the use of even if. Remember that you can use when or whenever, yes, instead of if. But when you want to emphasize the result, you use even if. In this case, so you want to buy a house, even if it needs a lot of repairs. So So you want to emphasize that even if something bad happens, you still want to do it, right? So you still want to buy that house. So in this case, you use even if, right? Because it's not something that always happens, right? When we say when or whenever, it's something like a routine or something like is true or that always happens. But in this case, this is not a routine. This is a surprising result. So we have to emphasize it with even if. Another thing that I want to tell you in this one is the use of the present progressive. I told you that in the if, when it's a routine, you can use the present progressive in the condition. But obviously, some people can confuse the ing. Oh, this is the present progressive. If you don't analyze, you just see the ing and you put it. But remember that you need the verb be. That is part of the present progressive. Don't forget that. Another one, and the last one that I want to focus here, is the number 4. If you don't like that car, keep shopping for one you do like. All right? So, why you don't use this one? You keep shopping. Because in this case, you are giving advice. Remember that I told you that for advice or for invitations or commands or just orders, right? You don't need the subject because it's an imperative sentence. You just start with the verb, do something, open the window, open the book, right? Come to my party, keep shopping. You are giving advice. With this exercise, we start the quiz of Unit 21, Future Real Conditionals, where the if or condition is written in present tense, in present, simple present, and my result will be in future, all right? So, in the first one, if you see, you have if I ask. Your other options were will ask or had asked, no future in the if, and no past perfect, not yet, right? In this type of structure, the if is used with simple present when your result is future. So be careful with that, guys. Remember the structure. If your result is in future, your if or your condition will be written in simple present. Okay, in this one, obviously, if I take the job, this is present tense. My result has to be in future. Your options here were making and I'm making. Where you use the ing? In the if clause when it's present real conditionals. So in the result, you don't use the present progressive in any of them, right? Not in future, not in present real conditionals. So your only option was will. Next one. If you make more money, your options were, this is the number 3, move or are moving. You move into a bigger apartment. Yes, but if you make more money, you can. This is like the possibility you have, right? It's not like that something you always do. That's why they are using can, because it's a possibility that you can take. So you can move. You don't say you are moving because, as I told you, we don't use the ing in the result. And maybe you were confused with move, but if you analyze the context, this is not something that is always true, as I told you. So it's a possibility that you have. You're right. If I take the job, I, present tense, my result in future. And your options were may not or shouldn't. Remember that shouldn't, first of all, is only used in present real conditionals. So that was not the correct one. And may not is probability. So, but in this case, as I told you in the previous one, if you analyze the context, if I take the job, I have to work in my living room anymore. This is something that he has for sure. So he won't have, right, to work. It's not a probability. He's sure about that. Now, the problem is the if present tense, guys, right? If I work for a big company, I have to follow their rules. In this case, you have a model, so that's why you are using the model here. But if I work, your options were had worked and have worked. Not possible in this structure, right? Present tense. Next one here you have unless. Your options were if and whenever. Remember, if and whenever can be used, but specifically whenever only for present real conditionals. If you have a result in future, whenever was not possible. If was possible, but if you analyze, unless I continue writing for myself, I will no longer be able to make my own creative decisions. What happens if you use if? If I continue writing, I will no longer be able to make my own creative. That doesn't make sense, right? So unless. Remember the hidden meaning of unless is if not. So if you change it in your head, it says if I don't continue writing, okay? For you to be sure that is correct. And in the last one, your options were even if and only if. Remember that even if is just to emphasize a result. So what happens if you take the job and you don't like it? This is not a surprising thing to happen, right? Because you can take a job, you can analyze a job, you can like it or not, things that are regular or common to happen that you don't like something. So even if or only if were not possible, right? You are not emphasizing, you are not giving totally focus on one thing, but it was a normal if condition. This is the second part of the future real conditionals, and I will emphasize four, okay? The number one, if Edward quits college, his parents will be angry, okay? Normally, this is the structure that we have, like in the number 2 or in the number 5, right? Number 6, even if it's negative. What is my structure? The if is in present, like here, like here, like here, in present but negative. And my result is in future, that you can use will, like here, or going to, like in the number 5, right? Always will in my result. Okay, in the number 3, you can see a question. Remember that I told you in the conditionals, the question will be shown in the result. So if Roberta gets married, that is my condition will be in the same or the normal way. In my result, I have to do this inversion to have the auxiliary, could be will or does if it's present, right? Does she have to move to a new city? In this case was present, right? And another one here, the number 4, the use of unless and not even, because even alone cannot be used, only even if. Whenever, okay, whenever can be used instead of if. But here, what was the sentence? Marco changes his diet, he's not going to lose weight. This was like a contrast, right? So unless Marco changes his diet, he's not going to lose weight. Okay. And the number 8. If June is wearing his lucky shirt, like I told you, you use the present progressive with something is like a routine. If June is wearing his lucky shirt, then he might pass his driving test. No past tense, no past perfect, right? With this slide, we will start with the Unit 22. Unit 22 is about the past, the present and future on real conditionals, right? Remember that this Unit 22 is about wishes. So everything that we are saying is not true. We want it to be true, but it's not true. We wish that, right? We can give advice, saying like in the number 3, if I were you. Remember, this is my expression to give advice. So we are saying, if I were you, I wouldn't quit. So what you are saying here, I think you should quit? No, because you are saying, oh, If I were you, I wouldn't do it, right? So you don't want him to quit. I don't want to give you advice. Obviously, you are giving advice because you're using this structure if I were you. So I don't think you should quit is the answer. My other option is to show my wish without the if. Remember that I explained you that one? So here we have two, number 5 and number 8. You are not using the if, but you are just showing your wish. I wish I had a DVD player. Remember that you use the person or the subject that is having the wish. Then you have the word wish and you have the word for the person that needs that wish, if we want to say that, right? Or will receive that wish in some point if it comes true, right? The main verb has to be in past tense. Remember that this is a must, right? The past tense. So I wish I had a DVD player. But what it means, if you are saying I wish I had a DVD player, it means that you don't have it, right? So I don't have a DVD player. You don't have it. Why? Because you wish you had, right? In this one is the same. I wish I didn't have to work tomorrow. Remember when I told you that you use the didn't to express the past tense in negative, right? So I wish I didn't have to work. It means that I have to, right? I have to work, but I don't want to, right? I don't want to because you're wishing the opposite, right? Okay. And the other option was to use the if. And remember the structure. If I knew the answer, I will tell you. What happened here? If you say, if I knew the answer, you're saying, but I'm sorry, I don't know it. That's why I cannot tell you that, right? Look at the number 7. I told you that instead of would, you can use could or might, remember? I could get a job as a translator if my English were better. My English is not good, right? You are wishing that. So I want a job. Yes, I want a job. I could get it, but I don't have a good English. But I would like to work like that, or as a translator, right? So I would travel around the world if I were a millionaire. I want to travel, yes. I'm millionaire? No, because you are wishing to be millionaire, right? I wish I were. So it means you are not. Okay, don't forget to pay attention to what you are saying. If that coat were less expensive, He-young would buy it. He-young likes the coat? Yes, of course, because he will like it, or he will buy it, sorry. He will buy it, so obviously he likes it, right? But unfortunately, it's expensive, but he likes it. Pay attention, analyze, as I always tell you. And the last one is part C, unit 22, part C, right? Here you have the options, and if it weren't so cold, I would go fishing. Remember, the would is used in my result, okay? Always. So if, past tense, would. And by the way, remember here, maybe you're wondering, it and weren't. Was is not common, all right, to be used in the if. As you can see here in the number 6, if I were you, this is the expression to give advice. We never use was, or is not common to use was in this type of conditionals, but mostly in the advice, you need the were. If I were you, I would read this book. Remember that after would, base form, right? If I had 3 wishes, past tense, not present, past tense, I wouldn't ask for a palace because I don't want, right? In this case too, in the if, the past tense, not the present, not the would, because we can't have 2 woods in the same sentence, right? If my would is in the result, in the if clause, we don't use would, if and would in the same one, never, okay? Here in the number 5, we use could instead of would in my result, not can. Could, all right? I would go fishing if I were you. Again, would go. No went, because it's not the wish like if I went fishing. No, no, no. I went fishing. In the result is not the past tense, the simple past. All right? In the result, simple past, no. Simple past is used in the if clause.